everyone, how are you guys doing today? Thank you so much for joining me. I know your calendars are packed, so I'm just gonna try to make the most of these 30 minutes and make it worth your while. Uh, so just a little bit about me. For years, I've been creating renderings, VR walkthroughs, 360 tours for some of the top luxury builders and developers. And the funny thing is, one day I was kind of scrolling through some of their websites and feeds, and I thought, wait a second, where is it? Where are all the visuals I worked on? Where are those 360 tours, the cinematic fly-throughs, the immersive VR experiences that we worked so hard on? I kind of expected to see them everywhere in ads, on social, and email campaigns, but they just weren't there. Maybe like one rendering would kind of be in a brochure, maybe one image on Instagram. A lot of the stuff was kind of kept in-house, in office, more for those people that were walking in. And that was kind of it. And that's when it hit me. The problem wasn't the visuals. The problem was that it seemed that teams didn't know how to use them. They'd spend thousands on beautiful assets and then kind of let them sit on that hard drive, leave them in office. And yeah, it's kind of sad. So that's why I'm here today, because when visuals are just decoration, you're kind of leaving money on the table. But when they're used strategically, they become the most powerful tool you've got to drive pre-sales. So what I want to give you today is a framework, a playbook that kind of takes those lookers who say, that's nice, and turns them into leads who say, where do I sign? So I'm going to kind of start off here with a poll. Yes, so the poll should turn on for you guys. And the question for me is, what are you currently using for visuals the most in your marketing? Social media ads, paid ads, sales center in person, or all of the above? I'll give you guys about like 30 seconds. Yeah, and click the ones that best fit you. There's multiple options. This will help me kind of tailor my examples as I go to help you out a little bit. Awesome. Looks like people are still voting, so I'll give it another 20, 30 seconds here. Yeah, it kind of looks like it's more social media ads and sales center. So thank you guys for voting. And that's great ways to do it. Social media is 100% amazing, but the real question is, how are you utilizing them the 100% correct way, right? So let's talk about that. So here's the challenge. Selling unbuilt real estate means you're not selling a product, but you're selling a future. It's intangible. People don't have it in their hands yet. They will eventually. It's very expensive, so it takes a lot. You need to sell that future. Buyers can't stand on the balcony and feel the breeze. They can't smell the lobby flowers or imagine their kids running around the courtyard. They only have what you give them. And here's the kicker. You don't have unlimited time. Pre-sales are all about momentum. You've got a limited window to capture attention before market shifts, before another project launches, or before your buyers move on. And let's be honest, we've all felt that burn in our pockets and the fear that kind of creeps in the closer you get to completing the project without enough sales locked in. That moment where you kind of start thinking, what more could I have done? And the truth is, a lot more than most teams realize. The pre-sale phase is actually very critical. How you market in that window often decides whether your project launches with momentum and stalls out. I know this feels very overwhelming, juggling design updates, investor pressure, and million deadlines, but if you miss that pre-sale window, you're fighting uphill for the rest of the project. So let's talk about it. The three psychological levers. Before we get into the how, let's talk about the why. These levers drive pre-sales, and I want you to picture them in your head as I describe them. So let's go to the first one. Let's start with imagination. Two well-known principles explain why showing less can actually do more. So Gestalt psychology says that human nature naturally completes incomplete images. We see half the picture and our brain can't help but fill in the missing details. The Zeigarnik effect tells us that people remember unfinished stories or incomplete information more strongly than finished ones. Our brain doesn't like open loops. It wants closure, so it does that. Why these teasers are so effective in pre-sales? If you show a blurred lobby, a shadowy staircase, or a cropped pool reflection, the buyer's brain goes to work filling in the blanks. They don't just see the teaser, they start imagining themselves in that space. So we've seen teaser campaigns outperform full render releases again and again. The less you reveal in the beginning, the more buyers lean in. And when they lean in, they're not just observers, they're already writing themselves into the story of your project. And that is the power of imagination. All right, let's look at the second one here. We have exclusivity. For some reason, this word is so hard for me today, exclusivity. There are two psychological principles at work here as well, for me at least. It's the Cialdini scarcity principle. It's a really fun word, Cialdini. It says that when something feels rare or limited, we assign it more value. It's the same reason diamonds feel more desirable than glass, and scarcity makes us lean in. And I know all of us have seen the market recently on diamonds, right? It's not as scarce as it used to be. And what happened to that price point? Exactly. So scarcity. The social identity theory explains that people are motivated by belonging. Being part of an in-group or even something as small as being on a VIP list creates pride, status, and a sense of identity. I'm sure you guys have done this with shopping alone. You go onto those, you get the email saying, "Hey, insider scoop alone. Here's your coupon," and you're like, "Okay, well, I got the coupon, so maybe I need to buy." Exact value, exact vibes. And that's why exclusivity is so powerful in pre-sales. When a project launch is framed as not public yet or VIP only, it taps both levers at once. The project feels more valuable because it's scarce, and buyers feel more important because they're part of a select group. Even something as simple as a subject line of not public yet has been shown to double open rates. And when buyers feel like they've been let through the side door, they respond faster with more urgency because they don't want to lose that insider status. All right, finally, our third lever here. Let's talk about urgency. There are also two psychological principles here at play. Loss aversion, it comes from Kahneman and Tversky. Excuse me botching them. I'm so used to reading them and not saying the words out loud. But Kahneman and Tversky show that people feel the pain of losing something about us twice as strongly as they feel the pleasure of gaining it. In other words, we're wired to avoid missing out, FOMO. Think about it. We feel so much more nostalgia for the older house that we sell than probably the excitement of the new one. And you kind of think in your head, oh, is it because I'm stressed out? I'm moving into this new place. What's going on? No, it's loss aversion at its best. Then we have temporal motivation therapy. This says that deadlines increase motivation as the clock runs down, and that is why you suddenly finish a project the night before it's due. Urgency makes us act. Think why infomercials do so well. They have that deadline, they have that timeline, and people love them. People stay up late watching them sometimes. And that's what we're kind of trying to do, is we're using these levers. Now think about how this plays into pre-sales. If buyers are told only 10 VIP reservations are available before public launch, the fear of missing out kicks in immediately. They're not casually browsing anymore. They're calculating, am I going to be one of those 10 or am I going to miss out? We've seen projects sell out 20 to 30% of its inventory in just a few days when urgency was built into the campaign. Without a ticking clock, interest stays passive, and urgency and passive buyers turn into active buyers fast. So, things to think about. All right, so let's kind of check in again. What is your biggest challenge right now when it comes to marketing unbuilt projects? Is it generating enough leads, converting leads into buyers, creating content that stands out, or is it budget and resources? You can multiple choice this as well. Go for it, and I will give you guys about 30 seconds if you don't mind. And thank you guys for all the questions and everyone leaning into the chat room here. I appreciate it so much. All All right, looks like the votes are coming in. I'll give you guys another 30 seconds. There we go. I'm thinking there's a delay in when it launches. All right. It looks like most people are saying generating enough leads. Trust me, I understand. It is a huge challenge when you're trying to generate enough leads in this market, this economy, without trying to just constantly spam a bunch of people. In a way, there's just too much information. So I agree with you on that. All right, so let's move on to the second half of my secret sauce. Let's talk about the how. This is a four-step path from looker to lead. And so let's get on to step one. I won't keep you teasing. All right, so picture this. You're scrolling late at night and a post catches your eye. It's not the full building, just a shimmer of a pool at sunset, orange and purple reflections ripple across the water, but the building itself is hidden in shadow. Your brain kicks in. What's behind it? A rooftop? A skyline? You lean in closer, you click because you need to know. Clicks are good, remember? And imagination is doing the heavy lifting here. And then in bold letters, it says early access for VIP list only. Suddenly you feel like you're one of the few seeing this. That is exclusivity. Exclusivity. See, I told you that word gets me. And because it hints at a reveal coming soon, you don't want to miss it. That is urgency. The teaser really doesn't give any answers. It just kind of plants questions, and the questions keep buyers hooked. So that is why we tease. Our second step is reveal. This is where we pull that curtain back. The pool you saw in shadows, it's framed by glass towers glowing in a golden light. The lobby doors slide open, revealing like a chandelier that kind of spills light across the marble floors. The space you were guessing at now suddenly comes to life. That dopamine hit, that's imagination satisfied. But it's not for everyone. The reveal invite went to a select list, and you were lucky enough to get that. That's exclusivity at its best. And the reveal only runs this week. Miss it, and the opportunity vanishes. That is urgency. This reveal isn't about dumping every rendering at once or every scope that you have at once. It's about delivering at a peak moment to the buyers that you were connecting with and the payoff buyers have been waiting for, which is that dopamine hit. All right. Our step three is engage. Now imagine you step inside the story. So that view you're seeing down here that's playing is the actual view from someone walking around with the headset on and looking at the space around them. They're engaged. So instead of flipping through flat images, you're spinning around in a 360 kitchen. You zoom in, let's say into unit 7B. You're standing virtually on a balcony and watching the skyline stretch out in front of you. You're not just looking at a project anymore, you're living inside of it. That freedom of exploration is imagination being reinforced. And here's the kicker. Engagement doesn't just inform buyers, it pre-qualifies them. The one project's interactive map tripled the time buyers spent compared on a static PDF image. And when someone clicks on Unit 7B, zooms in, and then requests information, they're no longer a cold lead. They are a hot lead, and I know you guys all love hot leads. So what does that mean? They're already halfway sold because they pictured themselves living in that space. Layer in exclusivity, like a password protected demo or a headset preview at a VIP event, and suddenly exploration feels special. And then urgency sneaks in too, accidentally, but on purpose. I don't know. This is our brains doing its job. Because once someone has mentally claimed a unit, the thought hits them like, what if someone takes it first? That pressure is what moves them from curious to committed. All right, our last step is convert. We all love convert, don't we? But it's very hard to get to convert. Convert is where admiration turns into action. Up until now, buyers have been imagining, exploring, and getting closer. But conversion is the moment they cross the line from curious to committed. That can mean joining a VIP reservation list, placing a refundable deposit, signing a priority agreement, or even committing to an early bird pricing before that public launch. And notice how psychology ties in. Tease equals imagination plus exclusivity. Reveal equals imagination, and engage equals reinforcing imagination. Convert equals urgency plus exclusivity. I know that's super confusing, but in my head it made sense, I swear. These aren't gimmicks, they're signals that it's time to act. And that's why projects using this approach often move 15 to 20% inventory before opening day. Yeah, before. But here's the deeper point. Conversion is not about making people buy something they don't want. It's about aligning the moment of decision with desire that you have been building all along. By the time they convert, they're not just signing paperwork, they're stepping into the future they already pictured themselves living in. Yeah, I know it seems so big and grand, right? But that concept itself is so small. All right, last poll I think of the day. I just want to ask you guys if you could just add one new tool for your next project launch, which would it be? I think it's starting up now, the poll. Would you want interactive sitemaps, cinematic fly-throughs, VR walkthroughs, 360 tours? Go ahead and vote. This one's my favorite because, you know, it's what I do. Hopefully the poll will kick in soon. I feel like it takes its time getting to you guys. There we go. Starting to see some voting now. Thank you guys. All right, I'll give you guys a nice 20 more seconds. All right, I saw interactive sitemaps. That was, yes, quite surprising, but yes, interactive sitemaps are great. You know why? Because they have the ability to house all that information in one spot. And if you choose the right interactive sitemap, it can also gain you so much data when it comes to what your buyers are looking at more or less, which units are working for them. It's a data gold mine. I highly recommend if you can get it. And if you need recommendations, let me know. I know a couple of good ones that I've had the pleasure of being a referral with. All right, so we're almost done here, so I appreciate you bearing with me. I kind of went a little bit faster because this topic excites me, but some case studies here. So here's how it plays out in the real world. A Florida project was blurred out with a lobby rendering as a teaser. That's what I was kind of describing. Their sign-up rate beat their actual full render launch. At a trade show, I had a developer use a 15-second VR snippet in the headsets and not the full tour because they weren't trying to have people standing there looking for 45 minutes, right? They wanted it to keep going and keep up the VIP experience of it all. So just the one clip, and they doubled their lead capture because it felt exclusive. Another client built an interactive unit map online, which I was telling you about, and buyers literally clicked the unit they wanted before it was built, and the sales team, you know how much the sales team love these leads, because they weren't just curious, they were ready. So contact is no longer cold, it's very warm, it's hot, and you know what they're looking for, and you can strategize for that because you know, okay, they clicked on this unit this many times, but not on this one. So it looks like they might be wanting the balcony here or the bigger kitchen here. So that's valuable data for you and the sales team so they can, you know, tailor their pitch for that. And this is kind of exactly what we do at Outer Realm. We create renderings, VR tours, cinematic fly-throughs, interactive sitemaps. We usually partner with people for that, so because they have the better tech for it. But more importantly, we design all of this to fit into this funnel that I'm talking about. When you don't end up with just pretty pictures, you end up with sales tools that drive pre-sales when it matters most. So that's kind of it. Moving on. The key takeaways for success. Our cheat sheet, which I will send out to you guys tomorrow. You'll get the cheat sheet with kind of everything that I listed and all the fancy names of the psychology so you can, you know, fact check my work for me. Is psychology is about imagination, exclusivity, and urgency. The framework was all about teasing, revealing, engaging, and converting. Now, the reality check for you guys. Your presale window is very short, okay? And you need to use it to decide the success of this entire project. It really will decide the success of it. I have seen so many beautiful projects and, you know, just the waiting because you're so worried, are the plans ready? Are they not ready? You know, how far in? We can work with it all, but don't lose that window. So the good news is this isn't theory. It's all a playbook, which I, like said, will be sending to you guys. And if you apply these steps in sequence, you'll move buyers from curiosity to commitment before the ribbon is ever cut. That's the difference between scrambling to sell at the finish line and launching with momentum already on your side. Your visuals aren't just decoration. They're your most powerful sales tool when you put them to work right away. So I appreciate that. Thank you guys for spending the time with me. I will send you that recap checklist so you can share your framework with the team and utilize it and see how it goes. When it comes to visuals, I will say one thing, always go for the higher end quality. I know there's a little bit of a price point difference with it, but there's a reason for it. A, you're trying to keep up with your competition. Everyone is doing something more these days, but if you're going to be utilizing this technique, you want to use the nicest renderings, the nicest videos. And yes, you can get one for a little bit cheaper, but it's like, how do I say this to other people? It's like Picasso. You're not going to get Picasso, but you are going to not want someone who's never painted before either doing it. You want someone who's at least, you know, trained for a couple of years under, like, learning about Picasso and knows the line structure and how it's going to look. So you get an actual replica of that work that you were wanting. So that's what I mean about artistry, is what I meant. You just want someone who has experience in it. So anyways, we create those renderings, the VR tours, fly-throughs, interactive maps. We plug them into this framework, and your visuals don't just sit on the hard drive. So if you have a project coming up and you don't want to miss that window, let's talk. I'm going to be dropping my contact information in the link here below, sorry. And yeah, I'm just going to kind of open up the floor for any questions. There's a little chat open here, and please let me know. And hopefully in the chat, it also, let me know if you don't see my contact information. There's a link for 15 minutes. If you want to book for longer, please let me know. I'm going to open up the floor for questions. Anybody got any good ones for me? Oh, and thank you for letting me know the polls were too short. I appreciate that. I think there's a disconnect between when we submit the polls versus when we yeah, when it tells me it's been submitted. But okay, so it looks like I have a question. Okay, so someone asked, what if we only have budget for one of the 4 steps? Okay, fair enough. So if you only have the budget for one of the 4 steps, which I think is interesting, because all the steps are more about switching up how you do things now. But if you feel that you don't have the budget for like the full effect, I would say engage, which is utilizing interactive tools, because statistics show interactive tools will always win over static images. So I would definitely invest in something like that. I'm also very biased because that's what I do, is versions like that. So like 360 tours, video fly-throughs. And the reason why it's so good to have like an expansive group of mixed media is because you don't know what kind of person is on the other side of the screen. I myself am a very interactive based person. You put on a video, like a video fly through, you'll have my attention for maybe 15 seconds. But you give me a 360 tour and I get to play around, zoom in it, I'm having a great time there, and I'm really excited and in that product line for a little bit longer than, you know, before. So it creates that emotional bond for me. And there are a lot of people who prefer static images. Maybe there are people who are more imaginative than the new generation, which are a little bit less imaginative because they're used to social media kind of already dictating how they should feel about things. So people like that might want to just see floor plans. So you should be offering an entire mixed media of opportunity for them to see that project in, not just the one type. So that's a great question. Okay. Another question someone asked is, how early in the timeline should developers start thinking about utilizing? Okay, so just making sure here. Earlier than most people think. So you don't need final renderings to start teasing. Even a blurred concept or a single shot or a single detail can really spark interest months before a launch. So the earlier you plant curiosity, the bigger your wait list will be. And that's what you're trying to do, is really get that wait list and keep engaging them in the long run. So I would say that. Oh, someone asked about the gifts. They will be sent out as soon as this call is over. And ended today. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it'll be ended today. And okay, someone else asked. Oh, someone mentioned teasers. So one of the easy ways, what's one easy teaser a team could take? So the example that I used, I actually created it probably like in 3 minutes before this call because I realized I should give you guys examples. So it's really just about blurring the image. With Canva, with all these new technologies, it just really takes like one rendering, you crop it, you add a blur here or half the image or whatever you want to do. There's so many versions of blur on Canva or wherever you're using, or just a reflection of like some glasses, pairing it with like a line like want the full reveal, join the list. It costs almost nothing, but it works because of imagination and exclusivity. Cool. Any other questions? I'm loving this. So many questions. Okay. Where do you see the biggest missed opportunity when it comes to VR and renderings? Oh, in pre-sales. Okay, so the biggest miss is when you're kind of treating them as a decoration instead of tool. I think personally, you need to be using these to engage people a lot more. It shouldn't be something that you're just using in a pamphlet or a flyer. You need to really like spend what I'm trying to say, integrate them into the campaigns overall, emails, ads, events, and then move the needle on the pre-sales. A lot of people think that you need to get, like, first you got to get them in to the door. And a lot of people want to show the renderings there at the physical location, like, the unit, they want to utilize that as their main focus. But I think you need to be utilizing those to get them to the door. And then once they're to you, you use the power of sales, which is your energy and your optimism and your excitement for the project plus the rest of those renderings and everything like that. So I would say that. I don't know why that one stumped me. How do you know if your visuals are actually moving buyers closer to conversion? Well, look at the engagement metrics. Are people clicking on any specific units? I'm assuming you will have a website that's queued up with all the information and you have clickability metrics and things like that. Highly recommend if you don't have those. It really helps with understanding where you're going wrong on your websites, because it could be the smallest little glitch that's keeping people away. So having those metrics available to you is very important. So are they spending time on like interactive maps? Are they requesting info after a specific type of demo? That kind of information is really important. So I would say try to really integrate software like website clickability rates and stuff like that, so you know where they're actually kind of going around. And oh, okay, here, this one's good. How can smaller projects use this framework? Okay, so this is actually really great for smaller projects. You don't have to be a giant luxury builder or developer. You don't need a massive marketing budget to tease, reveal, engage, and convert. A few strong visuals sequenced the right way is what's going to create that exclusivity and urgency, and it doesn't matter about the project size. So you don't have to have a full, crazy budget as people like to think. It really is about, like, because a lot of people will already have those images and videos. It's really just how you are engaging with the people and following that sequence so that you're converting that dopamine and utilizing that imagination to its best. But yeah, okay, I don't see any other questions. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. We're actually right at the 2:30 mark here, so it's great. We actually had a great turnout, so I will be sending out the gift cards to the first 15 people who signed up, so you guys should be getting those today, and I really appreciate you guys all showing up and listening, and any kind of positive criticism you have, I'll be happy to take it. I'll be sending out emails with the checklist after. And please let me know if you'd like to book a spot and we can chat a little bit more. It doesn't have to be a salesy thing. We can always just chat. I love to talk. Clearly you can tell I spent 30 minutes doing it. So have a good one, and thank you so much for your guys' support.